Mac check 1001, 1002, 1003. Everybody knows the news. We all see the news on different, social media platforms like X and different news outlet that Trump, wrote a post on his social media platform that he requests, Tim Cook to manufacture iPhones in the United States of America. So I quickly put together a simple spreadsheet, just to show you the differences, if we got to manufacture that phone in the United States of America, what would be the cost? What's a baseline case? And what's going to be the challenges? It's going to be a fairly quick video. So what I want you to see on the estimated cost column is basically the current, let's call it the chat GPT level rough order magnitude cost, for the basic, components and labor costs. So basically what you're looking at is the major cost items is going to be your camera, your display, your A18 chip, as well as your other components, and also your labor assembly, which is fairly low, for China and the India where the phone currently is being manufactured. Let's just assume that's a correct price. So your total cost, for all those components and the labor combined, estimated to be $505. So if you consider the selling price of a base, iPhone 16 Pro Max, it's going to cost you $1,200. That means you have a 57.9% margin. Let's just assume it's 60, roughly, 57.9% margin. If you got to manufacture all those components, I'm building a very baseline case scenario. So basically, what I did there is, just assume if it's going to be made in the USA and added another 30%. If you know the cost of labor in the United States, in the business world, you know that's a very, very conservative number. So basically, your real camera is gonna, instead of $80, it's gonna be $104, and their display, which is 80, is gonna be another $104. And in the labor, I also made a very uh, baseline cost, which is $80. But if you compare the practices, where they assemble the phone in China, which they call it the 996. So basically, it's really low labor cost for the skilled workers. And the problem with us is not only we have to train the workers to assemble those phones, which we currently don't have, and also the cost is going to be significantly higher. Let's just assume, my hypothesis is correct, and based on the same margin and the cost, we're going to come to a $1,700 iPhone 16 Pro Max if everything is being manufactured in the United States. But my assumption here is very conservative. So in reality, it should be more than $2,000 for iPhone 16 Pro Max if it is being made in the USA. Okay, I'm not saying I'm against that idea. I'm just saying there's going to be a significant cost, for the consumers to pay for those phones. And also, like I said, in order for us to manufacture iPhone in the United States of America, we need to have skilled, trained workers that knows how to assemble those phones, which we currently don't have. And now I'm going to bring you to two areas I know where we're going to have significant hurdles in terms of regulation and labor practices. For example, the current iPhone, they all have a type of glass. We call it Gorilla Glass or different names. It's made by Corning. The reason Corning is manufacture those displays in China is because there's a process called an ion exchange process. And due to the regulatory limitations and also the sourcing of the chemicals, it is primarily being done in China, in around the Shenzhen area, basically Guangdong province, that's where they get it done. And also lithium ion batteries. You see the cost here, it's very low, but there's some significant hurdles for us to manufacture those type of lithium-ion batteries. And to be frank, if you go onto the internet, you search about Apple's practices, the display cover, the Gorilla Glass, and the lithium-ion battery, the labor practice in China is really poor, hence the low cost. So adding everything up together, if we got to make that phone, we're looking at least $2,000 for the iPhone, 16 Pro Max base model. And that's what I'm looking at. I'm not saying I'm against it or I'm agreeing with the practice. I'm just saying if we got to manufacture that phone, it's going to be more than $2,000 for us to buy. Thank you.